Please give a warm welcome to our fifth EO talk, Scott Novus from EO, Arizona.
Okay, I was going to come up here and hit you with 10 minutes of awkward silence, but Nick beat me to it. So, one thing, this is not part of my talk. When Michelle said an opening night there were 15% of businesses that got hit with a 95% decline. Right here. I would not be here if my brothers and sisters in EO were not committed to keeping me in EO. And so my hope, as I move into my talk, is to be worthy of their faith in me so I could be here. So for all of you, thank you. I want to talk to you about what I call forward vulnerability. We're very, very good at vulnerability, but there's a category of vulnerability. We spend a lot of time looking backwards. I want to look forwards. So have you ever had that experience where you're really excited to participate in something, you really are looking forward to it, and you get there and you show up and all of a sudden it hits you like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be here. Like maybe I don't belong. For me, as an entrepreneur running my weird little business, I couldn't wait to get in EO. For me, it was forum training. I was so excited about what I could get out of EO and how great it would be to talk to people that actually knew something about business. All my friends had jobs. My dad, God rest his soul, used to love to tell me, well, here's what would happen with Apple. I'm like, really? The most valuable company on the planet has the same problems as my little franchise company? So I'm sitting in the forum training, and all of a sudden, people are going around introducing their amazing businesses, the incredible lives they live, and I'm like, oh shit, they're gonna find out I don't belong here. My business isn't big enough, it's not sexy enough, I don't earn enough, oh no. So I'm literally just clamming up, trying to figure out how to make my escape. And then we do our first vulnerability exercise. And it hits me like a wave. Oh my God, are these people messed up? And I think, well, maybe I do belong here. Because I brought a decent amount of head trash with me. And then I started flipping the script to go, well, what could I bring of value? So if it's not just about what I'm getting from them, how can I add value to this organization? And I started going through things. So I got a couple engineering degrees, and I got some patents, and I was a VP for the Walt Disney Company. I thought, I've made games. So yes, I am here, open kimono. I don't just play them. I don't watch TV at all. I play games. I've made video games. And because of that, I know a couple things about you that you might not know about yourself. And so I'm here today to be your quest giver. But to understand that, before I dive in, let me explain how I think about gaming and why that relates to you. Video gaming is a really interesting art form. It's storytelling in the second person. You remember that from high school? First person, I did it. Third person, he or she did it. But second person, you did it. We spend hours trying to figure out how you could have an amazing story, how you could have a great adventure. And that leads me to the first thing I know about you that you might not know about yourselves. You are all great video game adventurers. You're the hero of your own story. Think about it. What do we do in a video game? We face hard problems. Is that what you do in EO? We develop skills to overcome those problems. Why are you all here? If not to develop better skills to overcome your problems. You persist until you win. Now here's the irony. I love the way Sekou said it, right? Next level. But what's that reward? You get a harder problem to solve. It doesn't get easier. And the game we're in is an infinite game. It's one that keeps going. And that's part of the thing. We're trying to figure out, when does it stop? But there's another thing I know about you. You don't just live like a video game adventurer. You dream like a video game designer. So let me tell you a little story and see if this resonates with you. There's this, I used to say this at the game studio all the time. The hardest work in video gaming is the heavy lifting of creating something other people care about. So it's this crazy guy in Scandinavia, like in the 90s, early 2000s, like not a hotbed of technology or game development. And he decides to make a game in a language called Java. Nobody makes games in Java. That's the language we use for like toasters and refrigerators, not video games. Oh, and he's going to release it on Linux. Anybody got a Linux computer here? Not PlayStation, not Xbox. Linux, are you out of your mind? Who here has heard of Minecraft? Most successful game of all time. Because what you do, who needed your business before you dreamed of it? You saw a hole in the world and you had to fill it. How many of you did the Google searching, finding, and just stopped because you didn't want to know? Like, I don't want to find somebody else out here who's doing it. I just want to do it. How many people out there had that pushback from a family member? We've heard that story. Like, what? You're going to do what? How many of you started your business and didn't tell anybody until it was too big to hide? So as you go into the world, what you're doing is you're doing the things that we do, is that as a gamer, you're trying to create that thing that other people really care about. So given the overlap I believe that you have, here's the quest. I've learned over the last, 15 years, 500,000 parties, millions of kids, friendships are made shoulder to shoulder, not face to face. What we have seen, the entire trend over the last 2 decades in video gaming, is connection. Now, I know there's problems with this, and that, we see all the media and things that scare us and everything else, but you really get down into it. Everything we're trying to do is to get people to play together, try to bring people together. And what's amazing, going back to Minecraft, it has, in the original core game, no competitive mode. Think about that. Most successful game of all time, no competition. Here's the shocker, folks. Competition is a lousy substitute for connection. So, a quest giver in a video game is a non-playable character that we insert into a game to enhance and advance your experience. And they're always someone that needs the help of the adventurer. And so what I need your help with is to follow on what we've been doing here, make a connection. So your quest is to build your party, to meet somebody, not that you just don't know, but somebody outside your chapter. Do you know how many chapters there are in US West? There's 19 of them. I was shocked when I read that number. 19. Because here's an interesting thing about us as adults. We learn differently than children. There's this horrible word to describe it called andragogy. But what it means is that we filter new information in 2 ways. Number one, everything I tell you, you're going to compare against your own experience first. Kids don't do that. They have no experience. But there's another thing about adults. We learn socially. That's right. You will learn better if you learn with someone else. It amplifies your learning. Turns out, learning is a survival mechanism. Adults learn differently than children, and it enhances our experience when we do it together. And there's another reason I'm doing this, and it's kind of a selfish one. When we look at outrage porn, and we look at what's happening in social media and the revelations that, like, big shocker, a company built on engagement turns out not to care very much what happens to people that they outrage and upset, and wow. Maybe in these times, what would happen if 500 leaders, visionaries, practiced building meaningful connections, scaling that wall of discomfort, and reaching over to actually get to know somebody else, and together share their experiences so they could enhance each other's learning? Where might that go? What seeds might that plant? Because honestly, like, this technology is not going away. It's only accelerating and amplifying. And more than ever, what we need are mature, mentoring adults that can grasp this themselves and guide this next generation up to what it means to make friends and to connect with other people. And if we could just spend a little more energy, what might happen from that? Thank you.